Every angler says one of these lines after a bad day out on the water. The fish were not biting, the water was wrong, the gear was wrong, it was just bad luck. But almost none of that is true. In this video, we will go through every common excuse anglers make, one by one. You will learn the real reason behind each one and the small change that fixes it. Stay until the end, because the last excuse is the one that quietly causes every other mistake on this list. Fix that one, and everything else gets much easier. Let's start with the excuse almost everyone reaches for first. The fish just are not biting today. This sounds like bad luck, but fish do not stop eating just because the sun came out or the sky changed color. What really happens is simple. Your bait is not matching what the fish want right now. Picture two anglers on the same lake. One person blames a slow day and packs up early. The other changes depth and speed every 20 minutes until something works and goes home with fish. Here is what you should do. Treat a slow bite as useful information, not bad luck. Change your depth, your speed, or your bait size before you give up. Slow days reward anglers who keep trying, not anglers who wait and hope. Something as small as switching to a plain, natural color can turn a quiet hour into your best hour of the day. Once you understand that fish can always be found, a new excuse shows up fast. It must be the wrong lure. Anglers blame the lure in their hand more than almost anything else in their tackle box. But most lures at a normal price can catch fish if you move them the right way. The real problem is almost always presentation, which means the way your bait looks and moves in the water. A lure moved too fast looks fake to a fish. The same lure moves slow and steady looks alive. So before you tie on a new lure, slow down first and change how you work the one you already have. Try to copy the movement of a real fish that is tired or trying to escape. A cheap lure fished well will always beat an expensive lure fished badly. Here is a mistake that costs beginners good water without them even knowing it. They fish one spot for 10 minutes, catch nothing, and decide there are no fish there. But fish are almost never spread out evenly across a lake or river. They gather near structure, meaning things fish like to hide near, such as trees, rocks, and sudden drop-offs in depth. A spot that looks empty can have fish resting just 10 steps away. The right move is patience, not giving up. Before you blame the spot, check it properly. Try 3 or 4 different depths and edges before you walk away. Most anglers do not have a bad spot. They have a good spot they left too early. A drop-off with nothing happening at noon can be full of hungry fish 1 hour later, once the light and temperature change. This problem looks small, but it changes almost everything about how you should fish. The water is too dirty or the water is too clear. Anglers treat water clarity like a wall that stops fish from feeding, but fish adapt to their water every day of their lives. In dirty water, fish depend more on feeling movement and smelling their food. In very clear water, fish can see everything, including you and your fishing line. So the answer is to adjust, not to quit. In dirty water, use bigger bait that makes more noise. In clear water, use a thinner line, called fluorocarbon, a type of fishing line that is very hard for fish to see underwater and keep more distance from the fish. Clarity is not a stop sign. It is simply a different set of instructions. Now let's talk about a mistake that happens long before any fish ever bites your hook. My knot slipped. This is almost never simple bad luck. A knot that slips almost always means it was tied the wrong way, or it was pulled tight while still dry. Pulling a dry knot tight creates friction, and that friction slightly burns the line right at the knot, exactly the weakest point during a hard fight. The smart habit here is small but powerful. Wet every knot with water or saliva before you pull it tight, and always test it with one firm pull before you cast. This one small habit, done every time, can save you the biggest fish of your season. Some damage happens long before your bait ever touches the water. My line snapped. It was just bad luck. The line almost never snaps for no reason. It snaps because it was already weak from strong sunlight, small nicks from sharp rocks, or simple old age on your reel, and nobody checked it closely. A fresh, undamaged fishing line, set with the correct drag, is very hard to break on a normal-sized fish. So make this one habit part of every trip. Run your fingers down the first few feet of your line before you start, feeling for rough spots or nicks, and replace your entire line once or twice every season. Line left on a reel for a full season, in sunlight and heat, quietly loses strength you cannot see. A snap line is almost always a simple maintenance problem, not luck. Some excuses blame the weather or the water. This one blames everyone else out on the lake. Boats scared all the fish away. It is true that boat noise and wakes can push fish deeper or push them tighter against cover, but the fish do not disappear from the lake forever. They move to calmer, more protected water close by, and most anglers just keep fishing the same open spot instead of following them. Here is the smarter move. When boat traffic picks up, move towards structure, meaning things fish like to hide near, such as trees, rocks, and drop-offs, close to the shoreline, where boats almost never go. The fish did not leave the lake. They simply moved somewhere quieter, and it is your job to move there too. Fix this one early, and every trip after it becomes much easier. It is too hot outside or it is too cold outside. Extreme temperatures do change how fish behave, but they do not turn fish off from eating completely. In very hot weather, fish move down to deeper, cooler water or into shaded areas. In very cold weather, fish slow down a lot and stay close to the structure instead of chasing bait across open water. So match your approach to the temperature. On hot days, fish deeper or in shaded cover during the middle of the day. On cold days, slow down your presentation, meaning the way your bait looks and moves, and fish close to structure. Temperature changes where the fish are hiding. It does not decide whether they can be caught. This mistake is really about matching, and almost everyone gets it wrong. The fish just were not hungry today. Fish are almost always willing to eat something because they will eat almost anything, but they get picky about size, color, and type when one food is easy to find in huge numbers nearby. If your bait does not look similar to what the fish are already eating, it simply gets ignored. So start reading the water for clues instead of guessing. Look for small clues, such as tiny baitfish flicking near the surface, insects on the water, or small crawfish along the bottom, and choose a bait close to that same size and color. If small silver baitfish are flashing near the surface, a big, dark, slow bait will simply get ignored. Fish are almost never truly full. They are simply choosing whichever meal feels easiest to catch. Nothing on this list drains your wallet faster than this excuse: I have a bad rod or I have a bad reel. A more expensive rod and reel can feel nicer in your hands, but expensive gear does not cast farther, and it does not hook fish better on its own. The real gap between a great angler and a struggling angler is almost always technique, not the price tag on their equipment. A skilled angler using basic, affordable gear will consistently outfish a beginner using premium gear. So before you spend more money on equipment, spend more time improving your cast accuracy, your hook set timing, and the way you work your bait. Fix your technique first and only upgrade your gear second, never the other way around. A skilled guide using a basic rod and reel can easily outfish a beginner holding the newest gear on the shelf, simply because every cast lands with real purpose. Some things on this list are about skill. This one is mostly about pressure and how you handle it. The fish was just too strong for me. Even a very large, powerful fish can be landed on lighter gear as long as the fight is handled well, using steady rod pressure and patience instead of raw strength. Fish are usually lost not because of their size, but because the angler panics, pulls too hard and too fast, or lets the fish get slackline, which allows the hook to fall out. The smarter approach is to stay calm under pressure. Keep steady, even pressure on the fish. Let your rod absorb each hard run, and never try to muscle a fish in faster than your gear allows. Raw strength rarely loses fish. Poor technique under pressure is what actually loses fish. And now, here is the most important excuse of all, the one I promised you at the very beginning, and it truly has nothing to do with your gear. I panicked, and I lost control of the fight. Almost every mistake on this list gets worse the moment an angler starts to panic. A properly tied knot gets yanked instead of eased. A well-set drag gets cranked down suddenly mid-run instead of adjusted calmly. A hook set gets rushed instead of felt and timed with patience. Panic turns small, fixable problems into fish that are lost forever. So above every other habit on this list, build this one first. The moment a fish takes off or the moment any mistake happens, slow your breathing, ease off, and think through one calm step at a time. The anglers who land the most fish are not the ones who never make a mistake. They are the ones who stay calm long enough to fix their mistakes mid-fight. Fix this one habit, and every other excuse on this list stops costing you fish for good. It was never really about the fish, the water, or the gear. It was always about how calm and steady you managed to stay in that one important moment.